Okay, no longer, by no further ado, here comes Brother Steve Cook.
Okay. I appreciate you, Africans. Appreciate being here in Philadelphia again. It's all my business in my hands. Whenever you're dealing with the Africans, I don't deal with the whites, so it's never an equation. You got to take care of your business. Business is very important. We have made our scholars suffer because we have refused to take care of the business. And everybody else work their jobs and take care of their monkey. And then when we get to the black thing, it'll be something we do afterwards. But we got to make sure that our primary business is the business between us and each other, and that other business is secondary. All right. Let's see here. You know what I mean? You got some electricity at this old Bruce? Right there. Hold on just a second. I got a long thin box over there. Let me have it in this gold tape over there. There's a lot of rollers outside now. Before I come in down here, yeah, it's a tape player inside of the court. I've seen a lot of rollers rolling around. They all walkie-talkie and back. Whenever you be inside, you're always supposed to leave somebody on the outside. Because on the outside is what the rollers are thinking about what we're doing on the inside. And you somebody gotta sacrifice tonight for the bulk. And we gotta keep people on guard. Part of what makes the whole thing work is while some are studying and some are working, others are guarding and protecting. But we can't all study at the same time, and we can't all guard at the same time. So we gotta learn how to, everybody take their role. I appreciate the brothers who served tonight. I appreciate Brother Charles, who brought me here, Brother Hebrew, who stood in the doorway. I appreciate the brothers that Brother Noah had, who were here 2 hours before the program to be on post to serve, to do what it is that they have to do. I'm really glad to be here again. I haven't been in Philadelphia in about 2 years. And part of the reason that I was not brought here again is because something that the information does to break up the chain of what people get paid to make sure that people don't understand. What's the name of the black paper here? Tribune. Tribune. Last time I left here, I don't forget shit. Last time I left here, that paper wrote a very, very negative article about Brother Copley. And it was really over the boule. And basically what the paper said was that we really didn't need nobody to come in here to Philadelphia and to be spreading no information about no black secret society. Besides Higginbottom, he's in it, so the way we look at it is he's really a group of good black men, and they deserve to be respected. And we don't need no retardo like Brother Copley coming up in here stirring up no mess. And they spent a lot of ink trivializing the dialogue. Now, on the other hand, if I was to let you in on my phone and look at my mailbox, you'll see mail and communication from all over the world, literally, of people trying to get access to the information that the brother has coordinated together, which is all publicly available to each and every one who chose to organize it. So there appears to be a contradiction here. It appears to be some elements understand the desire to foster certain information because it has become restricted, while another trivializes the same information, alleging that everyone already knows it, no one really needs it, and besides, what are you going to do? We have these strange occurrences. That same problem. I'm banned on the black radio station in Washington, D.C. I'm banned on WOL, which then bought the station in Baltimore. So I'm banned in Baltimore and in Washington, D.C. All black people. I'm not banned because the information is illegitimate or somebody stood up and proved it wrong. They trivialize the dialogue. Who needs this type of stuff? On the other hand, Armstrong Williams, you may have seen him on Jerry Springer's show, the Geraldo show, or any show that needs a brother who loves the hunky. He's been on it. He's replacing a lot of the other Renner brothers who they put on these shows. You might have seen a little bald-headed guy, Armstrong Williams. He's the business partner of Oprah Winfrey's boyfriend, Stedman Graham. They work for Caltech oil company. And they empower Africans in a 49%, 51% gas station proposition all throughout Africa. Brother who's in Africa, you may have seen the Caltex connection. Yeah, that's the brother right in D.C. who perpetrating that. The Black Republican connection. Whatever the fuck a Republican is. I don't know what these left, right, Republican, Democrat, Communist, Capitalist, bullshit. All of this bullshit. It just ain't about none of it. It's just diversion. A bunch of diversion to keep you away from certain information. So, sister says to me that they're really tired of hearing this conspiracy thing. And the people need jobs. The people need to have somebody go out there and do something. Now, I've seen the people do many things. And I've been confused about much of what I see the people do because much of it doesn't seem to be geared or focused at what we know to be the core of negativity. If you want to know or why you should be here tonight, it's because brother stands against the core of negativity. This is a pursuit of the penetration of all that we think is unjust and unfair to our race since it has shown up on the planet. It has an accumulative negativity, and we call it the no-do. Now, I don't know what others' goals are. Some, I believe, are making money, and that this is the ultimate goal of the operation. I believe, brother, the little money they making ain't worth no money at all. That's right. That little money they making. Oprah Winfrey, she's the richest black woman in America. But when the Jewish people told us Steve Coakley must be canceled from that show, I was canceled. So don't tell Brother Coakley when you get enough money you're going to come out here and fight the beast, because there's not enough money on the table that can make her change her mind. So I doubt if when you get the money you'll change yours. Check? Check. All right, check. As you know me, I understand. Check means I understand. I think we lost a little volume here. The gold tapes. There's some gold tapes in there. I'm thinking y'all got me covered. There's a gold tape in that box or the other box. Four little Maxell gold tapes sitting in the box. Brand new, unopened. Just toss one at the brother. Now, some of y'all, and we lost a little volume here. I think I don't want to put my mouth on too much of this stuff. Y'all see the gold tape in there? It's 4 Maxell. All right. Now, when Brother Coakley passed the hat for Brother Coakley, because Brother Coakley don't mind standing up and asking people to support the program, you can just put it in, but then you people who are taping the program need to at least make a $5 contribution to cover your tape. I think I lost a little volume here. I don't know what happened. You stand on the cord, but there we go. It's in there now. All right, there we go. Thank you, Brother Noah. Thank you, brother. Oh, yeah, there we go. Show you right. All right, now I got to go back and repeat all this shit over again. Well, one thing I always do like to start with is I need to know if I'm needed. And how I know I'm needed is if I ask you certain things and you don't know those things, then I know you need what I have to offer. Usually I try to ask a couple of things I think are readily accessible to Africans. How many of y'all in here love Africa? So you're right, that's about everybody. Let the record reflect that that's about everybody. The lovers of Africa, we know them by how they protect Africa back. Check. Now, the U.S. government does a lot of development against Africa, and much of that development is instigated by the State Department. The State Department controls the various embassies in the various African countries, and the CIA works out of those embassies under diplomatic cover. Check? Yeah. Right. All right, so any African will surely know who the Undersecretary of State for African Affairs is. Go. False. And. All right. Oh, let me ask y'all again. How many people here love Africa? All right. You talk to an African lady, they'll tell you, I say it all the time. African will tell you that the IMF and the World Bank, not the U.S. military, only in certain instances, the IMF and the World Bank are forcing the African countries into lowering wages and raising prices, which puts you at odds with your people. It's causing the destabilization of the countries. You need to tone just a little bit down. Destabilization of the African countries. And so they'll tell you, will you Africans in America put pressure on those people who punishing us through loan or debt arrangements? Check? Check. That check is fading on down. So the IMF and the World Bank will be two spots where Africans would pinpoint as imposing ugliness on Africa. Who runs the World Bank?
White man.
It's a white man. Check.
Michael Kobe. What is this?
Pardon me?
Michael Kobe is the director.
No,
Same guy?
Close.
What was his name? Stems from the Rothschild family.
Clausen was the head of the World Bank. The name you are calling on is Michael Camdesis, who is the head of the International Monetary Fund, which is one of the questions. You still got the World Bank left out there.
Yeah.
Illuminati. Someone said Rothschild.
Greenspan.
Greenspan, that's Federal Reserve. All right, now, imagine I'm the hunky. I'm sitting up at the First Penn Foundation or some shit. Or sitting down in City Hall, or I'm sitting up in the top of one of them pyramids down there. And they say, boy, they're really getting big on the African thing out there. And they say, fuck it, man. They don't even know who the real African killers are. Check. Now, the reason I ask you that is to establish whether I'm supposed to be here or not. Because my problem is that I can't catch the Africans having their behavior meet their value system. Check. Check. Which means that if your behavior matches your values, I mean, I see you. I see the African in you. But I challenge the African in you to go to the point for Africa and be what you say. Now, if I start bringing up the preachers, everybody would dog them out for not fighting the devil. And they don't. They don't ever advertise Devil Called Live at Sunday at 11. And you can come there and see the devil all caged up because they kicked the devil's ass during the week and they're going to show you the ass they kicked on Sunday, which is what the Sunday was about, was you rest from kicking ass all the rest of the week. But you know they don't do that, right? Because they're not really in pursuit of anything. Check. But neither are you. You will tell Brother Copley, I'm with you, brother. And you feel like you are. But for what the brother's focus is, you're not yet going to fill the void to get the ones who got to be gotten, the ones who must be threatened, the families who must be checked, remain unopposed in Philadelphia too. Check? And this is part of why they didn't want me back. Because they know they have worked you into position that you think you know. And that's what makes you dangerous. Is that you will walk out and perpetrate against another from a zero position. And your zero will perpetrate on their zero, and somebody will be arguing over who's blackest. And the monkey will get away. So brother, don't come in the spirit of forcing up some unity, because we're already unified by our stupidity. Now, I'll come at you like this because I want you to be what you say. That's all. If you say I ain't shit, then fine, I can live with that. I ain't shit either. You can live with mine. We can better adjust when we know where we stand. Marcus Garvey once said that the threat to the black community is the college educated. And as I go to these various colleges, from Morgan to Hampton to Howard, the University of Minnesota, University of Illinois, University of Cincinnati, UCLA, University of Kansas, I'll walk you around to all of them. They didn't know the answers either. Now someone tell me, brother, we really need to cut out this conspiracy shit and go out here and get a job. Brother, you need to quit talking and go do something. And the suggestion is that the people have had the answers all along and have really tried the revolution, and the revolution hasn't worked out. But the revolution ain't never been tried because the enemy ain't never been the target. Check. That's the truth. And I will suggest this to you. The next time you go to follow somebody and y'all walk, you say, oh, just a minute, brother or sister. Let me ask you a question. Who is the enemy anyway? And if they don't give you a valid answer, you better step back. Because how will they fulfill their obligation that they pledged to the black people if they don't know who the pledge must be transacted against? I mean, certain things get real logical when we need to draw some conclusions about all of this. And part of the reason, somewhere the equation has come down where the wrong people have been perpetrated and the right people get castigated. And the people say, okay, that's all right. I can live with that. I put pressure on the people who sell the brother's material. That brother, go out on the bootleg. Part of one of my reasons I came here was to clean up all of that because Philadelphia is offline. Meaning offline is that we missed 4 or 5 sessions on the enemy since the last time I was here. We ain't gonna be able to do them all tonight. We don't be able to jam it all into one evening. But the point of it is that somebody around here know enough to keep it out. Last time I came, I couldn't get in on black radio. I was denied. They said, we won't happen. They put Jack Felder on. And then beat Jack Felder up over me as if he can answer to me. To them. And that was a bad move. So something about you here, and they don't want something. But you've been moving in spite of that because I have talked with you. And I'll say this. To those people who have sold those tapes without my permission, on the other hand, some of you have come because of them. Because you have found access to something through other people, it has brought you forward for more. So in the long run, if it has any value, you'll show up anyway, in spite of how you were found. So we're going to get straight with all of that. We're going to clean all of that up, and we're going to move forward because we're not going to win this thing dishonorably. I ain't going to get with brother and say how I cheated on my woman because tonight my sister and baby ain't here with me, and tonight I'm going to go run off in the hotel with a sister, and brother going to stand point while I do the coochie, and then at the end I'm going to say, brother, trust me, we going to beat the hunky. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, brothers. It's not going to work. If you cheat on the one you love, then you will always fuck the people. It'll happen. It'll happen. So what must emerge with the facts is a force that has a moral context to it. Not a religious context, but a moral context of which religion could be a part of its voicement, but a mere circumstance of one's keeping the word that one pledged to give. Now what I come to understand that I didn't know before is that the oath takers are far better organized and have a force that's backed up with fear. I underestimated the oath takers. Anybody up here in the Greek fraternity or sorority? Anybody? Anybody up here? Trying to decide, you gonna raise their hand. Anybody up here in the Greek fraternity or sorority? Come on now, I got pictures of some of y'all. Come on now, get it up. Come on, where we at? Somebody, come on up here real quick to Brother Coakley so we can show the people something. Is anybody up here in the fraternity or sorority?
Right here.
Don't bring up nobody else now. Don't stand up. Come on up here, brother. Come on up here real quick. I ain't gonna bite you, and I won't break honor with the brother, because brother to brother is stronger than any other thing. So we be true on that. How you doing, Al? Show you right. What you in?
Captain outside.
Captain outside. Okay. You know what I'm gonna ask you to do?
Got it out there.
What I'm gonna ask you to do?
You want to shoot?
Can you show the shades of darkness?
Get it out. Get it out.
You say yes, you can?
Yeah, I can.
Go ahead. Yes. And then I'm supposed to do something. And then you would do.
That's it.
All right. All right. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right.
All right. Demonstration. I do it in We just left Detroit. In fact, I got only maybe 3 sets of 3 lectures I just gave in Detroit. It's kind of like the whole weekend. I didn't sell it to anybody because I was going to explain it in the lecture. It just allows someone, when I have 2, 3 lectures, Detroit was offline too, so I paid $1,300 to go up into Detroit. And the G7 was meeting up there too last weekend. Because I had to be up in there to see what the G7, why the G7 came to Detroit and hold a meeting on jobs, and they just laid out 200,000 people up there, out them auto things, right? And that's interesting thing, they said jobs can mess up with national security. Lack of jobs or lack of people thinking they should get a job would destabilize the population. That's really what they talked about, not about giving jobs. They'll pass out applications. Anyway, and I do this demonstration to check the oath takers, because when we do a little bit about the Grecian Sphinx, and I'm going to put certain things here on video that I want to get on this video so that you will support the brother in the sharing. Where Brother Noah at? All right. I promised Brother Noah that I would suggest to you to make sure you get into this, because some of these things I'm going to put on the screen. And they're visual things that will allow you to show certain things. I was just telling him, Brother Noah, about getting the video subsequent to this because of what it would try to do. But we are calling on the oath takers because we believe that there should be no oath that they take that should separate us from them.
That's right.
And sometimes when I ask to them to show to the audience the handshake, some resist and they suggest that they fear, based upon the pledge that they took never to reveal it, of being hurt or castigated by another member who would see them do that. In Dallas, I asked a brother to come up, and he didn't want to show it. He sat down, and then another brother just jumped out the audience. He said, I'm an alpha, I'll show mine. And he came up and showed it. People stood up and gave him a 10-minute standing ovation. I mean, it was an awesome thing. It was really chilling. So at the end of that, we went to intermission. We selling tapes and doing other things. The brother come up and said, brother, when the intermission is over, will you give me one more chance to come up front? It's okay, brother, no problem, no problem. So I went on about my business. I'm selling the tapes, and brother comes up, reminds me again, will you give me this opportunity? I said, sure, brother, okay, fine. And when I started up after intermission, I just went on really right past him, and he was sitting down with me, he come on up in the front, and he gave the demonstration, and he showed the handshake. And I asked him why, and I just went back to Texas, Brother Charles. He was at the lecture at Fort Worth. And I asked him why, and he said, well, the people made it safe for this brother to cross over, and since the people did what they needed to do to protect him, I now know I can come over. So we have to be in an understanding of the oath takers. Now, the Greeks take the oath, the 4 male, the 4 female take the oath, and the Boule take the oath. In fact, I was checking up, is that a VCR on there, Brother Noah? Is that a VCR? That TV on there, will that show something? I got something I can show the audience. You might want on a video of some Boule activity on video. You might want to see this. Real seller type of thing. And I think after I go an hour, I'm on a break for about 15 minutes so I can get this set up for you and then go till we gotta go. It'll be a minute before I get to it, but just take your time. It won't be a rush. I ain't pressing you. And so we also know that the attorneys take an oath. Is there any lawyers in here tonight? Any lawyers in here? The lawyers already know the information, so they're not here tonight. They take an oath. They take an oath never to oppose the Constitution. They'll never overthrow the law of which they agree to uphold. They become officers of the court. So they taking a pledge. They taking an oath never to. When you're in the army, you take an oath, check. In fact, I even found that there's a tenet in the army thing that suggests that you even hear someone suggest the overthrow of the U.S. government, you're supposed to report them in. Check. All right, that's an oath. That's an oath. The little medical people take an oath, right? It's like them versus the vitamin people. Check. I will never support anything of which we cannot sell for 100 times these cars. Check. Right? And they don't break out that shit either. They said they don't have a heart attack cost you $30,000. Right. That's without any surgery. That's just you leave the emergency room and cost $7,000. I mean, this is unbelievable shit, right? But they got it going on. Okay, so we got all these oath takers out here, and the oath takers are a threat to the black revolution. And so we put pressure on the oath taker. What we've been doing since I seen you last, we've been going through these various campuses and telling the Greek thing that we really like to suggest some change. Because the Greek thing, like many of the other false idol worships, sowed the seeds of inferiority in the children. What's wrong with the Boule thing? What's wrong with the Boule thing is that it gives honor to the Greek thing. It's a little revive in here. I'm trying to cut that back, I think. Just one more notch down. Too close to the speakers. Where's the speaker at? Well, over there. False. And we all right? Run out of tape? Because when you need to change, let me know. Because, all right. We're putting pressure on the oath takers. Because, and I want you to write that down, because the police take an oath. And the main thing is the fraternal order of police. They all locked in on something. So we're need to get into the Masonic oath, the Rhodes Scholar oath, the Skull and Bones oath, the Boule oath. We found out that the Boule are not allowed to talk to non-members. So you can't get them to answer something you suggest because they're not allowed. And brothers told me about catching good on the radio over the Boule, and that's an honor. Sister Karen of the Black United Front just caught Dennis Archer, mayor of Detroit, busted his ass in front of 400 people at a community forum, and he's stuttering and stammering and hold and hard. We got up on Governor Wilder on the black radio station in Chicago. He acted like me and him was real good buddies, you know? And he would have been at the lecture, but he was busy and shit. The governor business, you know? We had some brothers jam up Charles Hamilton, who co-wrote Black Power with Kwame Ture. He was on Bob Law's show one night, and the little brothers in New York jammed him back on the Boule. To the point Bob Law got pissed, why y'all keep messing up my show with this Boule dialogue. He said that, wait, I ain't never heard of this thing. It's irrelevant. And then the 10th brother said, well, brother, it is relevant because this is about serving the king. And so we question his ability to write Black Power, understanding he's with the king. And so he said, he said, Steve Copley is the one taught us about this at the Slave Theater. He said, well, I'll get him on here. I don't want nobody calling in here for this Boule shit. But he ain't had me on either over the Boule question. In fact, I couldn't be on WLIB in New York. Blocked. The black station, the #1 black station in the country, they tell me. Not blocking up for Brother Copley. Pity, little brother. 2 pairs of shoes, 3 pairs of pants, no car, no house, no obvious weapons.
Big money.
David Dinkins.
David Dinkins and
Percy Sutton. In fact, brother,
Percy Sutton, no.
In fact,
I don't understand what I'm saying.
check this out here, brother. Watch this here. You called it up.
Yeah.
David Dinkins called Percy Sutton and said, we want that Copley canceled on LIV with Gary Bird.
He ain't the only one who can.
Percy Sutton called the station and they bust me out. I was off. When I went to the Slave Theater, Brother Vernon Maddox dresses it from the podium. Why was Steve Copley taken off the so-called black station? This is a phenomenon I ain't figured out because it ain't like the people got the goods. Unless these people, these black press people, maybe these radio people, maybe they know enough about it never to utter it, maybe they took the oath too. See, I'm looking at the impact of the denial of the knowledge and the castigation of the scholars. Now, other people are on C-SPAN. They on CNN. They on every show. They on the news. They on everything. And if you listen carefully, you'll know why. Because they don't accuse anybody of anything. It's no thicker or no deeper than the white man did it. We're suffering from generalities. The white man did it is not enough. It's not enough for Francis Wells Wilson to describe white supremacy. We must name white supremacists.
Yeah.
Or we must rule it foreplay and call for sex. I'd rather have you say check. I ain't doing it for applause. these people that I say them to, I've addressed them long before I brought it to you. Their answers make me tell you. Once I see that they understand that there is a line you're not to cross to make money in the black community and to be allowed to move around without being attacked. Some people fear the attack. In fact, some people pledge they believe, but they fear the enemy greater than they do not upholding the tenets of the belief. You see, I'm afraid of not telling. I'm afraid of not sharing. I'm afraid of you calling me and me not answering. I ain't been to Philly because someone offered and said I ain't even got no money. I'd have come for that. Check? Check. No one asked. Now, I understand the difference. But I get a funny feeling that unless we come to some conclusion about who is in control, we're going to get distracted into the concentration camp. Now, you may say maybe not. And I guess, let me get some of my equipment over here. And I don't mean to trivialize like that, brothers. If I could kindly have, if you see any information, just flip the boxes and see if you see any information. I think, actually, some of it may be here. But I also think there's one more box. There's one long box, got nothing but knowledge in it. Short, long box. What's, no, this one still might be in the car even. Should have been, oh, here, is this it? Right here, there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. And I'm not saying that to put nobody down. We just up the ante a little bit here. We gotta get the order straight now. We're a community that's under attack, that's out of order. And because it's out of order, because we out of order, we may get the enemy the wrong signal. We must not get the enemy the wrong signal at a critical moment because he may attack because he thinks this is his moment. Now, you got another group of people, many of which have never seen the enemy. I'll show you a little dialogue between myself and share with you a little dialogue between myself and Jesse Jackson on the radio over who is the enemy. What is the enemy? You will be intrigued by the answer. But what you will see about the answer is that he cannot name it. I know it's like laying somebody up a ball and all they got to do is spike it over the net. And when they go and they catch it and throw it back the other way. So there ain't no action at the net. And I believe that there are more people in on this than we've ever come to imagine. I believe this is deeper than we thought. I've spent a lot of my last couple of months reading Negro stuff. I'm never into the Negro books and stuff, Negro history and stuff. But now that we come to understand the Boulay's role in protecting the Round Table Group, I now have to go back and see just how this thing got put in place. I did a series of tapes called White Finance Negro Leadership versus Marcus Garvey and Black Jewish Relations 93, where I watched the development of this thing and have stand up to say that the Boulay first assignment was the strangulation of Marcus Garvey, the creation of a false scenario called Harlem Renaissance, and the diversion of black scientists and others to get into poetry, dance, and literature to offset an emerging black military. Very, very intense research. I'll tell you some books you might check in on right now. Also, there's a tape up there called What's Your Mother's Maiden Name? Boulay. It's a recent code we just deciphered. I'm going to show you that right here. But the tape is about some recent Negro history stuff I found. I think one person bought the tape. If you're a researcher, you will find how valuable it is at piecing all these things together. I found some information with Carter G. Woodson talking about how other the blacks have sold out to the various white foundations that were buying up Negroes at that time. And he says one of the things they asked him was, will you fuck Marcus Garvey when I give you this money? And he said how secretly he never wanted to say he was with Garvey, but how personally he would never be a part of fighting against him. And he talks about meetings with A. Philip Randolph and Du Bois and others where they vehemently said how they was going to jam up Garvey. And he says how much he heard it. He said, when Garvey died, I cried, and then in my eulogy to Garvey, I finally tell how much I loved him. And then I write in the Negro World. He starts writing in the Negro World, sharing his work with them. Eventually, he wrote The Miseducation of the Negro, because he then came to understand that he had been used, that the college-trained phenomenon was a hoax. Now, he was a founder of the Boulay in Washington, D.C., so he came a long way to come to that conclusion. What we now have within our reach is the ability to make up our mind and not take 40 years to do it. Because we've got the information that he had that quickly showed him what the real deal was. Du Bois eventually changed his mind after years of being this thing. The book by Goggins, Goggins, on Carter G. Woodson. I know you can get it at Everyone's Place bookstore in Baltimore. No Brother Nati got this book. It's a book about Carter G. Woodson. Talks about the Rockefeller Foundation, the Rosenwalds, and others, and how he keeps trying to do this thing. He tries to help them help his history association, but they keep saying, look, you got to lick my balls to get this money. And he keeps writing his personal letters about how much he hates the others who have taken the money that make the honky think he got to take the money too, to go along, because there was no black financing of black things. That was awesome, awesome dialogue. There's also a new book out about W.E.B. Du Bois by David Levering Lewis. Thick book, 700 pages, and very, very important book. Very, very important because nowhere in the 700 pages does he mention the Boule in the whole book. But, check this out. When he does the interview on the book in the Washington Post, and I got to tell you the dates, right? But this article is awesome. He talks about that he heard Du Bois personally in 1948 speak at Central State University, where the Boule was hosting a meeting because his father was in the Boule, David Levering Lewis. And that his father was head of the School of Divinity at Central State, and that he, as a Boule child, was at the convention and heard W.E.B. Du Bois in 48 say, this talented temp shit don't work. We was a fraud. I helped mislead my own people. The honky betrayers. I'll show you some stuff in that White Finance Negro Leadership tape on Garvey, where the Jewish community set it up and plotted why it would go into the black community and be a donor to get a right to assimilate with the other whites. And for that, they would fight anti-Semitism by remote control. Say, because we get the money, we can fight it like click, click. Awesome confessions. So, the work, in fact, the key story was this Memphis Commercial Appeal story that came out back in a year ago, about in March, right now, a year ago. And I asked brothers, had the story come out much here? And he said, no. You familiar with the story that had come out that the Army had been spying on Martin King's granddaddy since 1917? You remember the story, maybe March 23rd, 1993? You heard about this?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll have to spend a day on it because it helped me understand something. What the story identified was a Philadelphia family. Key. A guy named Emmett Scott. Emmett Scott, who had a son who was a physician here in Philadelphia, who was the father of Elaine Brown of the Black Panthers. She mentions it in her book on page 50. She mentions, that's it, Brother Charles got it right there. On page 50 of that book, she mentions that Emmett Scott, the first black man to serve in the cabinet in 1917, he was special assistant to the Secretary of War, Newton Baker. Emmett Scott had come from Tuskegee, where he was the assistant to R.R. Moulton, who was on ship when the Tuskegee experiment went down. All this shit hooks up now. I'll walk you. I don't have time to go all this route with you, but this is where I am lately. I have a need sometimes to talk out to the people where I'm studying, because many times it's not at the spot I'm lecturing. The lessons you miss, I really shouldn't be into this, but I'm kind of excited about it, so I got to tell you where I am, because when I suggest these things to you and you pick up the themes, you bring information that adds on to where I'm looking and the picture gets clear. And that's an honorable thing. I say in the tape, I need an overhead projector. So when I'm in Los Angeles, I go to little students, bring an overhead projector and present it to me as a gift at a lecture. Well, I couldn't carry it with me on the airplane, so I donated it to the place I lecture in L.A., the Good Life Health Food Store. So now that's available for everybody. Someone in Philadelphia, here's a tape. Buzz says he needs an overhead projector. So tonight, a brother bought me a brand new overhead projector, which he's going to give to me tonight. And I'm honored by that. So I don't underestimate what it means to say it into the tape to the people, because the people respond. When the focus comes down, the people do what has to be done. And if everybody does what they can do, we got it covered. If you catch the ones in your thing, in your sphere, everybody catch theirs, we got it covered. You know, the CIA has a thing. It's another set of tapes you missed. It's called Future Goals of the Spy System, the Early Warning Officer, Spy System 2000, the Targeting of the Poor. I had that over there tonight. And the other one I did didn't bring us how the intelligence community monitors networks and groups. Pardon me?
I was looking for that and I didn't find it.
Right, well, I only could bring some of them. I've been selling out at every stop, so I don't get as much time between lectures to make the tape. So that's something else we got to widen out on is making tapes. It's an honor to be in this position. Things are moving. It appears as if circumstances are forcing the people to a clear picture. And it's an honor to be in the vanguard of pushing towards the core negativity, because my greatest dream that I see just as clearly is the day we hold that beast head up and we pull out the big sword and make that cut. And everybody steps up and takes a little slice. You come up and get your slice. You know, I see that day. I see people as far as I can see. And this is the day the beasts go down. And I just a little sidebar. The keepers of the beasts are Rockefeller for North America, because we're going to name them. Rothschild for the Europeans. And Oppenheimer for the Africans and the Australians. Those three families perform the triangle around the core of negativity, of which I don't have no name for. I cannot tell you what that is. But we string 2 or 3 of them up, they'll tell. The police have shown you that we're threatened with incarceration or pain, you will tell on anybody. Check. You're supposed to say no check. Yeah, all right. Hey, watch it now. I want no Jim Jones shit here. Y'all be with me, you got to think your way through. Question my shit. Check me out. Go check the books. Is brother unfair when he says this about this one or that one? Is he wrong about this? Is the information really there? Check me out, don't. Hey, we have all festered the error. That's why we all here. So all of us can be checked. That's part of the game. And I take the weight. I'll bear the burden. Be no greater burden to bear. We be in line with that. So get that book on W.B. Du Bois, David Levering Lewis, because in it he tells about the day that Spingarn comes and offers him to be a captain in military intelligence. And what the story said in the Memphis Commercial Appeal was that Spingarn had been a military spy every day he was chairman of the NAACP. He even turned over all the memberships of the group, and that Du Bois was his man. And that together they went out and formed a spy network that identified potential troublemakers and also suggested potential informants. And the Boule served as the network in every city to set up a spy organization. That's what we were able to put together with the Memphis Commercial Appeal story. So how I got banned on the radio in D.C. was that Kathy Hughes has the story reprinted 25,000 times in the newspaper there, the News Dimension. It was a great thing. They sold 30,000 copies at 25 cents. Really helped the brothers' paper. It was an outstanding achievement. But the story was about everything already passed. And I know enough about the intelligence community to know that when it wants to tell something, it always tells you about things already passed. Coin Intel-Pro, not now Intel-Pro. They will tell you who they radiated in the 40s, but it's a secret. You got to catch the 94 radiation. You got to catch them. It'll be 124 for they'll tell on the 94 weekend. Check. So when somebody starts telling me about 1917 and 1968, that's where it ended. I understand that that's part of the diversion to stop you from 98 and 88. Check. And then those 3 spy tapes, which really needs to be a lecture in itself, I talk about where we notice that the CIA has this little model that they use to measure a true threat. And it's called intention plus capability equal threat. It's a formula. They got all kind of A's and Pythagorean shit, all stolen shit, all up under there. Because this is a computer model that they use to measure information. For example, they say, black man, Miller, Philadelphia, wants to free Mandela. Check up his, that's intention. Threat. Appears to lack resources to get a plane ticket. Equals a capability. Threat equals 0. Okay? So they listen to the dialogue and they measure the capability of imposing the dialogue, and that equals your threat potential. Check? And they have all kinds of sophisticated ways of breaking this down, measuring the informant and this and that. An intention is measured by indicators. Copley announces in Philadelphia that he's having a conference in Baltimore, and I am, and I'm inviting all of you to it, July 8th to July 15th. It's going to be at the Hyatt, Regency, Harbor, wherever the Hyatt Harbor is, right there in Baltimore. Inner Harbor, Hyatt Regency. July 8th to July 15th. Write it down now.
And the Sheraton.
And the Sheraton. Yeah, they're all there together. And the convention, it appears as if that the rooms we rented also just happen to have been rented by the Boule. And it looks like, for some strange reason, it must be a hotel mix-up. But it looks like we're going to have our conference in the same room. And in fact, in the 90 years since its inception right here in Philadelphia, it appears as if that for the first time in the history of our race here in America, the bottom 10 is going to confront the top 10. That's what's getting ready, the 10 versus the 10. It's about to show down in Baltimore, July 8th. How many of y'all interested in coming? Now, part of the reason why we have to be strong about Philly, I'm coming back next month, I'm coming back month after next, is because it's going to be harder for California to get here, but they're coming. In Milwaukee, they already rented 3 buses, a county commissioner, who's a non-Boule politician. See, when I looked up, the only Boule mayor that became mayor, 2 men that weren't Boule were Harold Washington, who was murdered after his second victory in office. He was a non-Boule mayor. He had 99.9% of the black vote. It's an unconscionable achievement in a town where the hunkies had paid for 50% of the brothers. Because they owned brothers up in there on that politic thing. That was their way to the streets of sanitation, to the Bureau of Electricity, to the Department of Streets and Water and other things. Their jobs came from the politics, so they were owned by the politics. Harold Washington and Marion Barry. And isn't it intriguing that you remember when Wilson Goode said, when he wrote his autobiography, he said, if I had not defended those men that shot down those black people in the move, I was clearly understood that they would kill me. Did you see that in his autobiography? That's in the book he wrote after he left office.
But he's just
But and it's something similar to him and Bradley, who had never talked to his own police chief for a year and a half. Let the hunky run out on his own. See, a hunky wouldn't be working in my city like that. He'd be serving my shit. He'd be serving you. He'd never be running around with his own military in my town. And when Bradley left office, he didn't have nobody he was even grooming. He'd been there 20-some years, and a hunky come in and replace him. He had no brother he brought around in his last 2-3 years, started grooming him and setting him out front, sending him to the community and lining him up. Nothing. Because he never read it for brothers. So he didn't believe brothers were supposed to keep it. It's him to give it back to the hunky. What's Dinkins? He is a Boule. Half Hispanic, half white, half black, and half of both short. Check. So when I go to be on LIB, Dinkins calls Sutton and says Coley will stir up racial hatred in New York. So LIB, they get burned by the hunkies anyway, supposedly for spewing anti-Semitism, and every time I go up there, a 20-minute disclaimer. We're not anti-Semitic. Oh, please, we're not anti-Semitic. We're in no way intend to be anti-Semitic. We really love them. And all this disclaiming shit, begging up and bowing to the hunky. Something's going on here. I'm a little worried about the ones who were supposed to have given the knowledge, which would have made my job unnecessary. It's unfortunate I must do this. I really want to do something else. But unless the people are armed with the appropriate poison on the right spears, we ain't going to get the wizard. We're going to end up off in the OEO boy somewhere. And don't go pull the curtain on the wizard, which is where we're headed. Because we have a theory that when we pull the curtain on the wizard, he'll pop. But we got to get past the OEO boys. And that's the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the county sheriffs in this area, the Philadelphia police, the National Guard. That's the military, the OEO boys. They protect the wizard. And you remember, there was the Wicked Witch of the West. That's America. We just happen to be right here up in her shit, and she greets you in New York like this. Right? That's the Wicked Witch of the West. The most powerful of all the whites. She won the war amongst the whites, so I believe it's an honor to be right here in the core of the beast. I believe it's an honor to be here. Because this is where the baddest hunky ever was, is no better hunky to be. And be the hunky is the goal, nothing less. I'm not here to inform you on shit white people doing or to jack you up and incite you about the boule. The goal is to defeat the wizard. And for that, we must know the combination of getting through the odds. And if you remember, almost like a parable, like whoever wrote this shit knew, also in the land of Oz was some little black shit with wings. That's the boule. And that's just the way their logo look. It's the damn Grecian Sphinx. And it got wings on it. And it looks like whoever wrote the shit knew just who protected the wizard. But we know the story, and the story is that many people have the information, they say, but they lack the courage to push it in the arena and make the difference.
Right.
Check? Other people need a heart. Some sort of way of glutting up on the information. That's that thing we need with each other. See, if we lock down in each other's hearts, no one will tell who's with us. When I'm going to some of these cities, some of the strangest people come to me and say, brother, I just want you right. Now I look at them, I said, damn, you cannot look at a person and tell who the person is. That's because we locked up in here. Hey, who else was on that journey? What did he want? Brain. A brain. And then to wrap the shit up, she wanted to take it home, right? Take the shit home when you get all of this shit. But just remember what happened when you get to the curtain. It's getting to the curtain. Now, Jesse Jackson got the people confused about the role of the youth. He suggests after 500 years of exploitation in this country, our number one problem is gangster rap. The sound is what? All right? Messing them tape players up over there. All right? So he would have you believe that. Now, let me do two things at once. When that Memphis Commercial Appeal story came down, they had Dick Gregory on the radio every day with Captain Hughes, and they was talking about the Memphis Commercial Appeal story, and I wanted to call in and say that Emmett Scott, the guy who helped coordinate this spy thing, eventually became the grandsire archon of the boule. And that I had just read Elaine Brown's book, and she talks about how they were bourgeois, and wouldn't even honor her, the product of an illegitimate relationship between her father and a prostitute. And she gives a whole history about her family selling her out. And then she also says, I was always wondering why the others got killed and I didn't. Because when you're a Sigma Pi Phi member, you have a protection as well. Ultimate protection that you might not ever understand. That the enemy is for being a part of the network. That's what David Levenon Lewis said. I saw Du Bois in Central State. He said, I saw him in Central State, and he said the child attempt didn't work. And then he goes through a whole thing about explaining what the boule is, but when he wrote his book, he left it out. Why? What happened there? And why did he hold it to the post but not to the people? Something's confusing me there. So when I asked Dick Gregory on the tape, and I got a little sound bite up, I said, Dick, who do you know about the boule? Dick Gregory says, no, I never heard of that. Now, I know Dick well enough that when you say something like that, he says, well, can you give me something more than that? Can I? Just share it with me. What's up with this? They cut me cold and curt. We don't really, as someone else said over him, we don't really need any of that here. This story, let's confine this to the Memphis Commercial Appeal story. And all I did was took their story and ran it through the pattern of the secret societies. And I was being repudiated for running it across the grid. Meaning I don't care what diversion they bring up, I'll bring it back to the core negativity. That's my skill as an organizer. All information already comes off ain't but one group running it. And don't get confused by all these different flags. They're only the one group in town. Anyway, so the next day I went to the Howard Inn and was eating in a cafe there, and Dick Gregory came in. He was staying in the hotel, and when he came in, he said, Brother Dick, it's Brother Copley here. He said, oh yes, I think I better sit down and talk with you. And he said, you know, I said yesterday I didn't know about the boule. In fact, he even came to the lecture right after that because he came to the lecture the next night after we had this talk to listen to us talk about the Memphis Commercial Appeal story. And I didn't bring that tape tonight, but it's a very interesting tape. And he says, I didn't know about that boule thing, but I need to tell you I'm an alpha. And he said, And I say, yeah, that's interesting because the guy who wrote the Boule history book, Charles Wesley, he wrote the Alpha history book. He said, I know. Now that let me know that he did know about the Boule. He just could not say. But then he turns to me and he says, he says, I want to tell you this. He said, I never revealed the handshake to my wife or to any of my 17 kids.
That's right.
And I ain't going to reveal it to you. And you need to understand why. If you can understand what prohibits me from doing it, and you understand the power of the oath, you will unlock a key that will release thousands to the cause. He said, but as of now, I ain't telling. And that was a challenge to me to make me go back and look at that thing again. I must have missed something. And that's when I started asking at the lecture, let me see this here. And then I saw the denial and the resistance. They would say, brother, you are in the forefront of helping black people, but I can't do this. And in some cases, I had one in Chicago where a brother who was very ambitious in the black community, he just happened to be a Kappa too. And he said, look, I fear Copley more than I fear the fraternity. He did the handshake. And then the Kappa brother literally jumped him in the back of the room overdoing it. And the people took care of the brother. But we're going to go through this while cleaning this up. Now, I needed this tape. I want to play a tape for you. I need a box there. I got two little boxes in the box with little sound bites in them. What time we got here?
8:52.
All right. All right, which nation is this? This the African nation? Then prove the African way. Now I want to play a little something for you. I haven't seen you since the rebellion. I need you to do a favor for me. When you look through there, find the recent Boule stuff that we got out of the Boule meeting. All I want to show that first. We got a tip from a Philadelphia Boule member to show you how strange it is. How we walked in on the Boule's regional meeting that was held at the Ritz-Carlton in Pentagon City, Virginia. It was held September 26th to September 29th. We walked right in on it. And we got a tip from a Boule member right here in Philly. He tipped us to it. And there's a suggestion that all of them ain't with it as much as they look like. So some of them have been telling on themselves. Intriguing phenomenon. It usually has, when people see a force arise and they fear the force, they begin to live in both worlds. So they don't want to get caught wrong on either side. They're liable to get it both ways. So they tend to start the process, and that's part of the process. I'm going to play you something. This happened right after the rebellion. I was really interested in the rebellion. I didn't bring the tape that I did riot report and analysis of the rebellion. Very interesting things I put on there. And one of the things I put on there was about the role of the youth, because Reverend Jackson will confuse you about what the youth's real role is. You see, as they have these summits around the country, what happens after the summits is that the youth are asked to refocus on a new enemy. So what happens is they say, well, call Brother Copley out the dugout and let him come down here on the field and show us who's in control. We'd like to work on that as a new focus, since we're not going to do each other. This is a very quiet thing. Now, someone listens to gangster rap and they really think it's about disrespecting the system. But if you listen carefully, it's really about fuck the police. It's about get the hunky. And it's a threatening thing because the youth who have no stake in the system are the most probable element that will rise up and fight the hunky to the death. I suggest that many of you who are righteous will delay it. For in your comfort, there's no real need to push it to the edge. The hungry need it down. And one day you're going to find yourself chased around your own community by the hungry, who will call you the enemy, the righteous, for holding it back. You have time to think this out. They have no time. They're on the line, and they're losing, and they need help now. And unless you give them direct help, they want the egg on the move. And so don't get caught as an enemy to the move, thinking you really own it. That could be the greatest danger. You will confuse the punishment. So in the middle of the rebellion, which was a circumstance, this brother here has the raffle. We're raffling off that Boule video with myself and Oscar Quasi, who comes in for the last 20 minutes decodifying the symbols. And I really appreciate Brother Rope made a sign and everything. I'm really honored by you, brother, and I appreciate this. This brother, another research brother, has really been on the case and on the point for following the enemy. And I'm really proud of this because in every city, the information cadres have arisen that are focused, and in spite of the distraction, their numbers are growing. And the information, you get a chill when you find shit. You know, I be in the library, I find some shit, I look up and everybody's real quiet and shit. Then they read, they excite them. I'm all, you know, so you get that feeling when you're tracking the beast. What's this? These are clues to the mystery of the beast. And it's exciting. And when you feel this thing, it makes you go deeper. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm forced to say this. And I must be humbled by it. But I'll do this with you. You take what's on that table. I match what's on that table as far as penetrating the forces of the enemy against any other such description. Now, if that in the contest or trial turns out to be the most penetrating moment, why was the ones with the least money able to do it? One simple factor. They wanted to. They wanted to. The reason we got pinned to tail on the hunky was because we wanted to. And I suggest those with money could have done it sooner and better, but they don't want to.
They get paid the way you chose.
That's right. Now,
Like the education system.
show you right. Now remember this. If you go to watch the Philadelphia Phillies play a baseball game, there's a guy sitting over at the third base coach line, right? He's standing there doing this. Every time a batter come up, he goes. You know what he's doing? He's giving a signal to the batter, right? Everybody in the stadium see him, right? But don't but 30 guys know what he's saying. So when you confront the secret societies, they will suggest to you that what they do is not secret. And you must come to understand it doesn't have to be if you don't know the code. They can do it right in front of you. If you don't know that the signal, if this is bunt, if this is take, if this is steal, but it's keyed by whatever I do after I touch my ear is what you do. So a guy does the hack, he does the steal, he does the take, he does them all, but then he does the ear and does the hack, and that's the deal. Check? Check. So a secret society doesn't have to hide the communications, they just have to protect the code. All right? We're now trying to penetrate the enemy, and we're at this layer of the enemy. What you will vouch for if you watch my years on the tapes, you will vouch for the depth of the penetration. I know more about the Boule now than I knew when I was here last. But if you had caught last year's lesson, you would have found out I knew more than the year before, and I know more now than I knew just a month ago. Because all we do when we're not doing this and moving the action into the arena, the force of better circumstance, is coming up with better formulas and equations on the penetration of the enemy. And we're proud of the work. Jesse Jackson, after the rebellion on a DC radio show, suggested that he just want to have a meeting of all the leaders.
Last meeting on the preaching session, we wanted to get people to basically coordinate. People were from Chicago,
from St. Louis, from East St. Louis, from Kansas City, from Seattle, from LA, from New York, from Maryland, from Virginia, from South Carolina. All of them in their own way were marching, protesting, making statements and press conferences. It was some feeble attempt to coordinate our activities, and the group that did come began to lay out some plan of action that they are now taking back to the several communities. And there will be more meetings, I am sure, and nobody is denied the right to have a meeting.
Now, the findings or the recommendations from that meeting are available to
everybody.
And people can get them by calling.
Well, you can call the Rainbow at 728-1180, and basically the first issue there was to coordinate a calendar of known protests around the country.
A lot of activities taking place.
Did you hear that? What did he say?
Calendar of all known protests around the United
What did he say, brother?
Want to coordinate a calendar of all known protests around the United States.
Right. Yeah, you might not know a spy thing when you hear it, but you need to hear it because sometimes it's disguised as other things. Let me let you hear it again.
728-1180. And basically the first issue there was to coordinate a calendar of known protests around the country. There are a lot of activities taking place. As opposed to having 50 little bit of things, we're trying to have bigger events, bigger protests. Second,
well, what happened was once he coordinated the calendar, there was never no more protests. It just went away. Be careful of this dangerous word called unity. I'm a little worried about this word. See, I can't unify with somebody unless we agree to who the enemy is, because it could get confusing. We don't want to be confused. The confusing part is if we don't agree who the enemy is, then how can we unify? Because at some point his assistance of something you do may conflict with the goals of our unity. See, with unity, we say we pledge to beat the enemy. But if you're in a coalition and somebody on the Rockefeller Foundation grant you got to fuck Rockefeller, now you're in a problem. You got a contradiction. Check? So be leery of this word unity. There'll be no unity around immorality. Okay. Jackson 1. Now let's go to Jackson and Steve Coakley on who is the enemy. After this guy, there's a guy I want to tell Brother Jackson, I don't know about this protest and this marching and shit. I don't think it works. So he's going through a diatribe about telling the guy about how important marching is. And then I'm the next caller, and I raise a question about who is the enemy. Who is the biggest problem? In other words. All right. So you're right.
Ten people march down the street or walk down the street, that's one kind of together. That makes one kind of political statement. If 10,000 march, it's another kind of statement. That is power. That's in numbers. That's power, people marching. If today, if 10,000 folks march down the street, march in lockstep, they cannot be ignored. Because there's power in groups, and there's power in discipline activity.
Judge, that is crosstalk. You're on the air.
Yes, I think what the caller was alluding to is that too often when the people march, other people step in behind them and usurp that power that they have just been developed and use it and rechannel it for other means, and in some cases for personal anti-drive. It becomes for us to raise the whole question of whether or not voting, registering to vote, and voting will deliver for our people what we need to gain from the ones who are in power. Now, we need a power announcement. If we had any black meetings over what we were going to do as a race, I have alleged that the reason we keep coming up with the wrong equation is that we will not focus on who really has the power. Should we walk on George Bush or should we walk on Rockefeller? Should we jump up into the Council on Foreign Relations meeting and demand a change in the world view of the U.S. government, or should we go change the State Department? Should we get the ones at the top, or should we change the operators that they continuously send to us, the buffer between us and the ones that have the power? And in our community, the real problem develops when we're forced to come up, who are we after? If someone says we need the Ford Foundation, but someone else says we can't hang out with them because they will never deliver in the interest of our people, then we will have a conflict over who we will name as the enemy. And that remains the underlying problem in our inability to unify. Because in most cases, our people have leads and roles to the people that we must get. We must get Rockefeller. But someone will say, no, not him. That remains the underlying difficulty, the inability to name the names of those who we are really after.
It seems to me that nobody, for example, if you wanted to march on Rockefeller, that is nothing to stop you from doing that. If you want to mobilize people and make that case, then you ought to do that. I mean, we are free to fight back. And I say if it's marching on Rockefeller or marching on Bush, the enemy to change is non-activity. It is passivity. It is turning on each other.
Okay,
and so, no, I would agree that you ought to fight back.
I agree with that.
And that given groups one group may want to march on the unit.
Okay, no problem. It's not adversarial. Let's take this opportunity to have this consensus.
Right.
And while we are fighting, somewhere we must prioritize who is the biggest problem. In other words, it's all right if the Copley flank go chases Rockefeller, the Trilateral, and the Council on Foreign Relations, and the Rhodes Scholar, and the Skull and Bones people.
Right.
Yeah, let them go chase them. But if we never come to the prioritizing of the enemy, then people will misinterpret. And camera and newspaper and the attention focused on one set of people chasing the KKK, and the other people are left to make the others look like militants or radicals or kooks or crazies or untouchables or unwanted when they decide that they will chase the bottom of the problem and not the peripheral or the distraction sent from the problem.
I think that in that essence, because, this problem is so multifaceted, one thing that concerned me so much as I went around to various hospitals, or even when we were back in LA and looked at who was hurt and who was shot and whose families were grieving.
You getting it? You getting it?
One team had been killed by another brother, it was just another
I
stat.
think we wasn't in the same conversation.
You have to lose them.
Now to set the brother up to do the hunky and good, right?
I'm
Jeremiah.
concerned that none of us kill any of us anytime. That's a real source of pain to me that we know that if in fact 400 or 500 of us were killed by whites who believe half the country. No, we should. If that meant whites were killing us, and we should be left to have full contact. But if it's black on black, if we are attacking each other with our tongues or with our guns, it's not all right.
I'm going to move this out the way when I go
Part about
move this.
getting well, creating...
Getting well, we ain't sick.
You understand? And create comfort zones with each other is to make each other feel a sense of security in each other's presence.
Mr. Jackson, I raised a simple question about focusing on the primary core of our energy. We have to take a shot, surely we see the heart and not the big toe. In your discussion with me, you went off in the black on black thing. I'm now trying to get us to agree that somewhere we as a race, some will be in on it, some won't. We will go away. We will prioritize who it is the biggest problem. And I will suggest that those of us who have studied, not been excited, but who have studied, are going to focus on the primary arteries of the people who we're after. Some of them are down the street from the White House at the IMF and the World Bank. Some are at the Brookings Institute and the RAND Corporation and the Council on Foreign Relations. And those of us will go there, but we demand that there be a central focus on who these people are. Therefore, we won't get...
I think our mayors who are trapped with the burden of servicing, a lot of people who've been elected to serve, they determine.
There's no more to hear about that because he don't say nothing. He goes off on another dialogue about the mayors having the responsibility of delivering solutions. Now, right, he's coming next. Now, I think you need to pick up on the fact that when given the opportunity to pin the tail on the hunky, you can get the impression that something we ain't never been able to get to the bottom of. Why these niggas ain't never come up with the right equation on the enemy and the appropriate strategy in lieu of it? The strategy has been bad because the equation is screwed. So when they stop the brother from bringing a clear equation, they call the equation the divisive element, and the confusion continues. Check. Now, you must have a foot to call it to order. So, for example, I was having some trouble being clear with Leonard Jeffries. He seemed to have thought that I was too militant to be associated with, whatever that meant. I don't know what it meant. I have this problem in some places. But he was down in Dallas recently, and he looked at the video from Dallas. He was sitting in a hotel, and we went through this little thing with Jesse Jackson. And he stood up and said, I think I have mistaken this Copley here. I think I now better understand the computation of the evidence. You see, I suggest at another point, this is evidence at the trial. The trial is what will happen when we win. We will try people for complicity. Because we will not repeat the mistake. See, I can't get no covenant with these hoes. I can't do it. Because I know enough about them to know that unless they renounce prostitution, they'll turn a trick on me. You see, sister would know it. If I cheated on you and I was your man, sister, and I said, sister, will you take me back? If you take me back without making me confess my sins and take my pledge never to do it again, you'd be a fool. So how many times they gonna do it before someone recognizes that because they not virgins, they can't never stop doing it?
Never will, as long as you catch the oath. That is the secret oath.
That's right.
In your society, you got more than one.
That's right.
One that holds the system in contact.
That's
you
right.
got more than one.
All right.
You have your belief.
All right.
But you had the Last Supper.
That's right.
You got to know the Masonic kids and the base of them, the whole Masonic, what was all based on.
All right.
What was all that based about?
Right.
And it's just,
They do solemnly
you
swear.
got to come back to the church and look
That's
at
right.
the church, because that is the biggest mechanism in the world, is the church, the Christian church concept. We take it as religion, but it's not. Nobody serves and get nothing out of Christian church but a white man. It protects a white man and a white system.
Right.
That's the man didn't love the church, went to the boule. He's the man that went in there. He went there in secret, but he do go to church sometime. But that was his secret oath himself, that he went to the white man. I will never be an enemy to you.
All right.
I will never challenge to change your system.
That's right.
That's what white supremacy is all about. That's why we say we must change the whole philosophy of the school. You must be taught about you. When he's taught about him and educated to him, he won't do that because he will represent him. When they represent him, he'll represent you.
Now, if you talk to me long, I'm going to have to share my feet with you. I appreciate you, brother. Next time I come back, let's meet you do the lesson.
Go ahead, brother.
But tonight I'm going to do this. It took me 2 years to get this back. Now, I ain't going to ask you how your hair got broken.
That old wagon. The old wagon load up. You know what
You got the longer wagon.
Yeah, you got old wagon load up.
That's right.
You got to do them all then.
That's right. We're going to get them back.
Yeah, all right.
It's just that won't be the moment. So you're right. Our people will feel they're ready to roll.
Judge, that is crossed off.
You're on the air.
This is the caller after me.
Yes, my man?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. I got 2 questions. One, I don't have a problem with fighting and taking direct action. But don't you agree we should prioritize our focus to place it directly on the people and the places where we can get some relief? And 2, previous caller mentioned that we should be fighting the council on violations, but yet still when I look on the membership, it says that you're on board.
You know, every time I can be a part of finding out what's happening in the world, I mean, I will do that. But the Council on Foreign Relations, whatever it does.
Stop. Remember that phrase. Whatever it does. Remember that. Now, she didn't call him out as being in it. Now he's talking about it, but he don't really know what it do. Right? Okay, you gotta listen to this carefully. It's loaded with all kind of clues to the leading into the Grecian Sphinx. We're gonna go from here into the Grecian Sphinx.
And when I look on the membership, it says that you're on board with council on violations. Could you explain?
No, anytime I can be a part of finding out what's happening in the world, I mean, I will do that. But the Council on Foreign Relations, whatever it does, has nothing to do really with why we are not making a priority on prenatal care with all these babies dying, and Head Start, and daycare. It has nothing to do with why we're not in a sustained drive to reduce tuition and increase teacher pay. And when I focus on that, I sense that to be the right thing to do.
Okay, now there's more to this, but you come to understand something, right? See, lines him right up at the doorstep of the council. All he got to do is blow it open. And he steps all the way back and says, that has nothing to do with what's wrong with you. The only problem is that it has everything to do with it. These are the gatekeepers and the people at the top. And to disassociate bad health care, Brother Bruce, oh, I think you this time. Y'all got to hold it down a little bit for Brother Steve. So I don't end up shouting over you, all right? Y'all got some good shit over there? What y'all got?
That's the picture.
Oh, yeah, that's the other one. That's the Negro.
No, go back to the...
Oh, sure, you're right. Okay. All right. I got co-lecturers tonight. But what you can see is that he disassociates the negative with a source. But he never will compute the evaluation of the source because he doesn't know what it does. But he knows it doesn't have anything to do with pain, which is a lie. It's an absolute lie.
So he's a buck.
He's one of them little munchkins with wings that keep everybody off the whistle. Because if you ever got up on him, you'd see he was a punk. That's the formula. If we can just pull the curtain, we got it. It's getting to the curtain. All right.
And when I focus on that, I sense that to be the right thing to do. There are 12,000 students at Howard and 13,000 at Lawton. It costs less than $10,000 a year to go to Howard. And I say it because it's one of the highest costs of black colleges in the country, about less than $10,000 a year, but $30,000 a year to go to Lawton. Well, I think that a massive drive to reduce tuition and increase scholarships will make a big statement to a large segment of our population. But while one population may be trying to go up and on to college to be able to make a contribution, there's another population that needs something very different from that. Prenatal care, and Head Start, and daycare, and more funding for public education. You look at the gap between the amount of money paid for a teacher of principal in D.C., state in contrast to Montgomery County, that's an issue. But some people find that is what they intend.
Now, they didn't cut the sister off. She's cut off. Now,
there are many priorities.
and he says, while you may prioritize that, there are many priorities. And what I said is we demand to have a priority of priorities on the enemy. See, when you stop everybody for a minute and say, who are we after, you're going to be stunned what they tell you. You'll be stunned. And it's a shame you ain't asked sooner. It really is, because you could avoid a lot of the pain if you just asked sooner. They weren't going nowhere. That's why they ain't went nowhere. They wasn't going. They wasn't headed for nothing. They never had a goal but get the money and contain the people alive. That's it. And that's why all other shit didn't seem to be working, because it wasn't about that. It was about control. Control your ass. And don't else matter. Anyway, watch this. Now the host, he wouldn't dare ask about an CFR on his own, but watch how he uses the other callers to allow himself to ask.
Gap between the amount of money paid for a teacher or principal in D.C., say in contrast to Montgomery County, that's an issue. But some people find that is what they intend to engage in the fight. So while you may prioritize, there are many priorities. And you got to respect people's choice of what they choose to fight on.
What does this Council on Foreign Relations do? The two callers that made reference to that. What does that council do for the listeners who may not be aware of what it's all about?
I've never been to a meeting. I've spoken to one of them and said,
I want to see But he said, I never really been to a meeting, but I spoke at one. Now, this is a mystery to me. I just had to ask you one question. Did I have to show up every night to speak? Because if I could have done this any other way, I would have done it. I don't know how you can, I've never really been to a meeting. What does that mean? Say, I'm a virgin, I only did it twice. You know what I mean? I'm a vegetarian, I only eat chicken. Huh? I only cheated on my sister one time. What do that mean? I've never really been to a meeting, but I spoke at one. Now remember, he earlier said, whatever it does. Now watch this. As he now, when the boy says it's a conspiracy, he know enough about it to say, no, it don't do that.
What is this Council of Foreign Relations? The two callers that made reference to that. What does that council do for the listeners who may not be aware of what it's all about?
I've never been to a meeting. I've spoken to one of them, and especially people who've been involved in foreign affairs, who analyze foreign affairs, who analyze foreign policy.
Analyzing what happens with the information.
Well, sometimes they make it public, sometimes they share information one with the other, but it's not, means foreign policy determined by the State Department of the given administration. It's not by a, you might have
So it's an arm of the State Department?
No, not at all.
Whatever it does.
No, it's not. When the State Department makes foreign policy,
Right.
based upon the judgment of the given president and that Congress. More that president than that
So
Congress.
does the council advise the State Department?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. I think Mr. Collins made reference to it, and I'm wondering how many listeners out there kind of confused as to exactly what the council, the function of the council is. You served on it as an honorary member or what?
You know, I was asked to serve on it some time back. I've never really been to a meeting, but I kind of know what it does. People who have a sense of world affairs. Some people who serve as ambassadors, others who serve in countries who discuss the implications of a given foreign policy matter. But it's more academic than activist. It does not make one policy decision, nor is it an advisory group to the State Department.
Okay. One answer to this that I know you...
Deep, huh? That's the last time you let me call in on his show, too. They always trying. See, don't be calling him for that shit again. I said, but I saw you got 3 licks in while we was up on the table now. So I ain't like you didn't take a chance to ask what you knew was forbidden. Now, I raise a question with you. If we called them all in, they do the same dance. You just ain't never pressed them. You never pressed them. I think this is bigger than we ever thought. In fact, you can see it's not even logical. In fact, that leads me to a part where I know that brothers have a radio show here in Philly. At least they did until Wednesday. Where they mentioned Steve Coakley's lecture on the show. And what did they say after that, brother?
Well, what happened was...
Come on. You got to do this because I'm suggesting this to you. You will never see the enemy till the last days when we try their ass. All you will see in the meantime is the buff. If you beat the buff, you will get the enemy. But you got to beat the buff. And so the buff will come out. When you make the penetration, the buff will show up. When you call the question, the buff will look unquestionably guilty.
Basically, we had a station, we had a show on 80s Update on WPEB 88.1. Maybe some of the brothers and sisters are familiar. We was kicking the knowledge, because we learned it from Brother Coakley here. He was pretty much our mentor, although he wasn't on site when he was doing it. We used to just listen to his tapes, and we said, this is how to kick the honky's ass. And this is how to expose these house niggas that's running us. So basically, we was doing this every show. We hitting them hard. We got names. We was kicking names. We was kicking forecasts about how this white supremacy thing was going on and trapping us up in a genocidal cycle. Who was responsible for keeping black people on their ass? And we was busting this out, right? And it was always, and then we come to this point where we was even going to try to arrange to have Coakley on our show, right? All we did was announce his show. And Sister Atika Bey, WPEB, a big turban-wearing punk dog who serves white supremacy came up to our face and said, "No." He said, "I ain't about what I'm about is money. This is what I'm about, money." And this brother said, "No, well, I'm about the people, and we ain't going that way." And she said, "Well, I'm about money, and y'all promoting Steve Copley, that's taking money out of my pocket." He said, "I get federal funding for this. You see, look what you brothers on." And then she went like that and said, and then I was like, "Okay, so wait a minute. You advertise white stations, and they don't give you no money." He said, "You can't tell me how to run my station." I said, "Okay, sis, look, it's basically like this. When it seems to us, we came to a consensus that you seem to be motivated by the actions of the Boule and the Anti-Defamation League, and that's how we sum you up." And she said, "What? How dare you call me up and insult me and say that I'm a white-loving, boot-licking?" And I said, "See, that's libel. I didn't say that. See, what I said was she was motivated by the actions of the Boule. See, so this describes by your reaction how you feel in being guilty of these crimes." And she said, "Well, that's the trouble with you black people." She said that. She said, "That's the trouble with you black folks. Always want to try to get on my show with that radical shit." Quote unquote.
Another thing too is, remember when Duck Wig had this, brothers rapping 2 weeks ago? We went there and we stepped in Wilson Good behind. You're a boulette. You know what I mean? Now, this is supposed to be a brothers rapping thing, and we ain't about sitting down with traders. You know what I mean? I mean, the whole thing was pointing out who's who and what's what. Okay, so the bottom line also with the show was that the Boule jumped on her case. Because they knew we would be, you know, we were broadcasting, it would have been a year next month. So, you know, they knew we were broadcasting on their station. So the bottom line, they turned the heat up on her. And being that she's about money, it ain't about uplifting fallen humanity through communication and success. It's about uplifting, you know what I mean, humanity through money. And that's the bottom line. So whatever y'all hear in the future about what happened to us, y'all know the real deal because y'all heard it from us. The bottom line is that, you know, this brother, I don't know him as being a general. You know what I mean? The thing with me is this, I'm a soldier. You understand? There's going to be a time when the rapping is going to be cut out. And we trying to tell y'all, anybody listen to the show, we tell y'all, get your rifle, get your ammo. Because it's just a better time when the rap stops and it's time to go into action. So, you know, the thing is yeah, we ain't on the air no more, but as long as we can come before y'all, as long as we can still get the information out, because like I told her, I came to you giving you information. I took her to Congressional House bill where they sat down in Congress and talked about making aid. That's how I got the program. So the bottom line is that we're back out on the street now, so it ain't no problem, because we still want to get the information out to y'all. But, you know, just don't listen to the lies because we don't know in the future what she's going to say. But we know that the action by her taking us off the air was motivated because of the pressure that the Boule here in Philadelphia put on her. Rotan Lee, you know, Wilson Good, you know, all the Uncle Tom niggas in the city council, you know,
who had the Penn Foundation? He moved that to the big time. Who had the Penn Foundation?
I don't know his name right off there.
Also, I wanted to make a comment for the dynamic brother working in the Philadelphia community, Kabir Haddad, sitting in the back. She did the same thing in his program. What we want to do is identify enemies among us, you know what I'm saying, and we can focus on it, you know what I'm saying. And I just wanted to say Jesse Jackass is going to be at White Rock Baptist Church tomorrow. And like Brother Steve said, it's our job to cover our area of operation. Whenever they come, whenever HAT gives something, we got to be calling them and setting the record straight. That's all I want to say.
All right, thank you. One thing, I just want to thank all the brothers and sisters in the Black Diamonds for supporting, you know, our show and Brother Nadas's show. Y'all are beautiful. Without you, we couldn't have done it. So y'all power, you know. Divide, don't put me on the side with her. I stand alone.
Now, somebody dancing upstairs or something? That's the church. They marching for Jesus. Well, all that combustion ought to catch $2, $3. Then enough to yell, who's killing? Now, I'm going to go about another 20 minutes, and I am going to take at least a 5-minute break because I want to line these overheads up. you in a way that I can rapid fire them down. I really appreciate Brother North for coming forward. And Brother Black Power brother, remember let me speak to you during intermission. All right? Okay. Now, y'all remember this book here? In fact, let's take this down. You all remember this book here? Now, I got some good shit in it, got some bad stuff. It ain't all good. All right? But the book foretells of a moment. It's like operating out of that biblical thing. It says, this is when the pale horse comes, something come with it. Check? Check? And this little thing right here, is what it says. And it says, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And the name that sat upon him was Death. And hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over a fourth part of the earth to kill with sword and with hunger and with the beasts of the earth. I thought it was kind of odd to have a red, black, and green target on there. Notice there's a black horse in the front and in the back. Yeah, that's confusing to me. And in fact, it says this comes from the Holy Bible, the book of Revolution, chapter 6, verse 8. Right, that's what the last chapter called, Revolution. Because when you reveal the enemy, revolution is well followed. Because that's the last leg of revolution, is the revelation of who it is. And then come the revolution, so then the new book started after that book. So, but then Newsweek came out when Clinton won. They came out with a perception of Clinton that seemed to fit the prophecy. Brother, can you see over the television? Because I'll take it down. Yeah. You all right? It says, can Clinton tame Washington? Washington. That's November 30th, 1992. And you can see that Clinton on the white horse. But also notice that he's dressed like a knight. A knight is very symbolic that he's dressed like a knight. He got that sword in his hand too. So you're right, his eyes all fiery blue. All wide-eyed and shit. And you notice there's black dragons at his feet. In fact, this is me right here. First time I've been on the cover of Newsweek. I'm wondering what they were doing with this. You know, it's you seen that commercial they did? Now this ain't no arbitrary symbolism. They have all this little gothic sounding music, and they got this white knight fighting the black knight, and they're on this Masonic checkerboard, the black and white squares. That's a Masonic thing. And the music's going, and the lightning strikes and shit, and the white knight beats the black knight. Then he holds his sword up and shit, the lightning strikes and shit, and he turns into a Marine. You know what they say, join the Marines. But that symbolism was not arbitrary, it was communicating the knight connection. Now when we walk up on the Boule Convention, we find out that there are rituals based on the Knights of Templar. We know that when you go over in Skull and Bones, you're a knight. And we know that the Boule protects what they call the Fair Order of the Table Round, or the Round Table Group. I will show you their oath on the Round Table Group. But it appears as if this symbolism is escalating as the signal to the other whites in code, in front of everybody, what time this is. They came with another one. I thought it was kind of ironic. you a pointer in one of my boxes. Long little, look like a TV antenna. Right, that's what it is. This is a story in Washington Post, January 2nd, 1993, about Clinton appearing to have horns on his head on the cover of Time magazine. Now, if you're looking carefully, you'll see the horns. You gotta look for them, though. You won't catch the devil unless you're looking for him. Now, you know you're a hoe. There's no doubt about that. You know, he's in Whitewater right now. That's right. He's being whitemailed. And he talked about it, how USA Today did a story on it, and how many faxes had come in and calls related to Clinton looking like a horn. Arbitrary? Maybe. Maybe just accidental. There was also one when George Bush appeared on the cover of Time magazine. This is why I need them 5 minutes. I can line this up for you so you catch it in rapid fire order. I want to give it to you that way because I don't want to slow you down with me lining something up. Now, remember, I must have been a vendor. Sure, you're right. Remember how Clinton got to be president? You remember this guy? He just happened to P-Rock. He was winning. In fact, he was winning the election with 40% of the vote. But all of a sudden, he just jumped up out the stands and shit. And got off the track and let Bush and Clinton run fast. So when they got far enough ahead, he jumped back in. Now, he's worth about $4 billion. What did he say was the reason why he got out of the race?
Raise his daughter.
Said they was going to fuck his daughter up. Right. Now, how many votes is that? One. I'm raising the question whether it's the ballot or the bullet. Malcolm raised the question. It's obviously the bullet because all the money he had, he couldn't even buy into the presidency. They forced his ass out the race, and they forced him out with the threat of violence. Now, that night he debated that NAFTA treaty, world government, with Gore. Gore didn't bring up no vote. He kept saying, you and your son. You and your son. Yeah, you and your son. I want to remind you, you and your son. All he kept reminding was him and his son, like, in cold, we're going to fuck you up, you don't bow out. Now, you might misread this thing and get caught up in one of these things and not understand what really make you go round. P-Rock. Y'all call it parole. As if he's from France. Not Texas. You know the Masonic thing got the double-headed eagles on it. Now, Bush, he come out the Skull and Bones connection. He come out the Skull and Bones connection, so when he was Times Man of the Year, come on back there, boy. Get your ass. When he was on the cover, he was double-headed. Now, maybe this was arbitrary, accidental. Maybe. I don't get it. So you're right. Now, I make a suggestion that much of the threat to our community is done symbolically. So we have to change our base information, and this is just one copy. There are 10 or 20 different versions. You need to get you a dictionary of symbols because symbols are just